Leave him alone! Go, get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here! Back up! Get out of here! Go! Keep going! Keep moving!
She's walking away!
We got plenty of time here.
Are you okay?
I'm getting shot! I'm getting...
Katie, are you okay?
You can't fucking do that! Get the fuck on! Get the fuck on! Don't touch me either! Fuck you do again, what the fuck you gonna do about it? Nothing. I'm leaving.
He's not doing anything! He's doing protest!
Get the fuck on! Go! Get the fuck on! Get out of here! Fucking leave it!
Hi everyone, welcome back to wococlock. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. We're going to be focusing on the media portrayal of the Black community, and we're also going to talk about the anti-Blackness we see in our own communities from personal experience, as well as allyship and what it means to be a productive ally versus what it means to be a performative ally. As many of you guys know, the protests in 2020 started off with the death of George Floyd, but it's important to know that this movement didn't just start randomly. Racism didn't just appear or come about this year. Police brutality is not anything new, but I do think that, you know, in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, people being unemployed and just the stress of that, the George Floyd murder was basically the tip of the iceberg, which, you know, started this whole thing. And the amazing part is that it really did show a lot of solidarity within all communities coming together to fight the injustices that the Black community faced and to, you know, bring more light to police brutality and how systemically the police force is racially biased, implicitly biased, and, you know.
So to elaborate more on that, it's like how Sharmark said, like this Black Lives Matter movement it's nothing new. It's been going on for centuries and centuries, like my ancestors and all them has been starting it. I will say on a more personal note, it is a bummer of what happened with George Floyd and how the police brutality is still continuing. But at the same time, it does not come a shock to me anymore, because nowadays, if my Black people have noticed, we are teaching ourselves and teaching our families and teaching our kids, our grandkids, our nephews, nieces, like anyone that's close to us, even the strangers, we're teaching them how to react around police officers, how to react around racist people, in order for them to live their lives safely, even though that they still have to watch their backs 24/7. With this thing, with the whole pandemic, it was just a matter of time. Like, I really do appreciate the protests. I do appreciate the people that were protesting and everything, but at the same time, the reason why I don't like the protests a little bit is because of the violence that happens within it. Most of it happens with my own people doing it, Most of it happens from white people that are doing it, and others, mostly the police officers, take advantage of it, and that's what they choose to come and attack my people and then claim that we're the ones who attacked them first, and that is not true. And what I also want to say too is, like, I really want to thank those white people that actually did protest, but I also want to say this: there's some white people that were doing the graffiti on most of the buildings and everything, but then they blame it on us. We don't do that. When we protest, we march, and we say what we have to say. I know that this will go down in the history books because with this pandemic, this has happened, but frankly, I just want to say my opinion here. I know that it's not going to stop. This is not going to stop, but at the same time, it's like, that's what we do. We won't stop until we get justice. We're going to continue on doing it because we're here and we're here to stay. I also want to just claim that, like, you know, I also want to point out that when they were cleaning up, they only showed the white people cleaning up. There was also my Black people that were cleaning up communities as well. And it's just not right. You know, it's just really not right. It's like all this thing that's happening, like, it affected me in a way, because I even thought about, should I even have kids in the future? Because I'm dying to have kids. But with me, I'm like thinking, do I want to be fearful of them being in school, not only getting like racially discriminated, but when they grow up, do I have to live with that fear of one of my kids getting hurt or one of my kids getting killed because of the color of their skin? Like, I shouldn't have to. Like, right now I'm already freaked out because of my nieces and nephews. It's like, it's even a shame that I even told my nephew that he's half white, half Dominican. I even told him that I was so glad that he came out light-skinned instead of my color, because at least there I'm more calm and at ease that he's not going to get hurt. Yeah, I may have to protect him out of certain things, but I won't have to be 100% worried about him getting stopped by police and getting hurt, or him getting racially discriminated. I won't have to worry about that because of the color of his skin.
I think that brings us up to our first point, which is the whole media portrayal of the Black community. And it really just goes off of what you said about how in the beginning few weeks of the protest, it was a lot of, you know, violence. And at the same time, like, people are saying that it's wrong, some people are saying it's right. But it's like, you know, kneeling didn't work. Being cooperative didn't work. Having silent protests didn't work. Bringing awareness to it on social media and just talking about it for years and years and years, it didn't work. The I Can't Breathe hashtag was from Eric Garner, and it was repeated again in 2020 with George Floyd. So I feel like, you know, there was a lot. Let me finish one sentence. Sorry. I think there was a lot of coverage when it came to the looting portion and the violence of the protest. And that really just goes to show how the media itself demonizes the Black community. But this isn't anything new. Like, this is like the headlines of all news articles, even if it's like caught on video, or if it was literally like, it couldn't be any more proof that this thing happened. A lot of the time the media portrays it as, the caption would be like, alleged murderer, alleged this. And it's like,
it's just that people want to be like, people want to be angrier about the looting and all those things versus like the actual murders. And it just kind of, like, at least my personal belief is that if you are not experiencing the hardships, the pain, the trauma that generations have faced just because of who you are, then you don't have an opinion on how people express their pain, regardless of whether you agree or not. Because I have heard, for example, like, I have heard from, different sides of like people who belong in that community, who are, some people say, hey, I don't agree with this, I think this is that. Some people say, no, it's my right, I've been like this. And as a person who essentially is an outsider, we are no one to judge for how people express their pain. And we just have to continue working on making sure that people care more about like the deaths and the violence rather than this small percentage, which is the violence or stuff most of the time, which is perpetuated by the very people, cops and all these other opposing sides.
Yeah, but it's like adding on to what you guys said, you guys are correct. But it's like how Shamnam said, going back, like, yes, before it did start, well, we used emotion. We showed them our fear, our anger. Like, we showed them that didn't work. Then what we did with the facts. We throw them facts straight in their faces. That hasn't worked. So it goes right back to the emotions. So either it's like a domino effect. It's like everything's just falling apart, and it's like we're playing ping pong. It just keeps on going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it's like I said, and like how I said it before, my people, we're here and we're here to stay. We're not gonna fight. Like, I already know we're gonna have to work twice as hard to be respected. We have to work twice as hard in order to people to respect us, in order for us to show them that we're smart. We just gonna have to do that. And then I blame the education, because the education system, that is what's failing us, because it's not teaching our kids, not only our kids, it's not teaching other kids that are not part of the Black community the real history of what's going on. Because
it's so whitewashed.
Well, yeah.
Whatever fits the supremacy agenda.
It really is it, and it's really unfortunate. I think what this whole situation has taught our generation is the fact that if it wasn't for Twitter and Instagram,
just social media in general,
the way that the media portrays, like, there's so many things that, like, we would not know. It's really interesting that, like, when the violence stopped and things calmed down, protests are still happening. It's July and they're still happening, but the media just stopped covering it, and the only reason we know about it is because of Twitter. Seriously. And it's really, really important to note, again, going back to the demonization of the Black community, at the same time, there were white people protesting the pandemic, all right, with literally AK-47, like, no masks, obviously, because that's what they're protesting, screaming in these cops' faces, right? There's I saw this video on Twitter, like, it went viral, everyone's seen it, and they didn't feel threatened then. Like, these people are, like, armed and they're screaming in your face, and there was no violence. But then when you have peaceful protests, like, trying to end or try to bring some light towards the police brutality that happens, you're basically confronted and greeted with full riot gear. Like, what? Like, to be honest, I really just haven't seen any other protests be treated in that way, like, where it's like full riot gear for a peaceful protest about police brutality. So, like, they're literally showing police brutality at a protest against police brutality. Like, it's just a mess.
It's super
really
fascinating.
Is a mess. And then back to what Hila was saying, how it's really shameful that the first thing people say when they talk about this issue is the looting, and they're not really focusing on the lives that are being lost at the hands of police for no reason.
There's this tweet.
For no reason.
There's this tweet that, like, I had to refer to in regards to, like, why people are focusing so much on, like, something that's literally a small percentage of a huge issue. I'm just going to quote it. I don't know the original person who wrote this, but it's just saying, like, the reason you don't see cops shutting down KKK rallies is the same reason you don't see, like, Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus sitting in the same room. It literally just goes to show you how biased and how peculiar our the people who are supposed to protect us and everything is in regards to what side they want to fight for. And essentially, there literally is two sides. One side is literally for humanity, just for human rights, and the other side is just wanting to continue to put down people just to fit their, like, agenda of what things
There's literally two Americas. Like, I saw another video that I saw on Twitter.
You can't even call yourself America if, like, you don't know the foundations of things, and a lot of people don't. Hence why people are focusing on the destruction of, like, for example, we were going to talk about, like, the small business damage and big business damage. People are just so desensitized and have been so brainwashed, especially with the Western education. Western education is literally, you don't get taught about movements or, like, historical figures who are not white. until
Yeah.
you go and do your own research. And like with businesses, like we were talking about, people, like the whole looting thing, it's just like, you guys can like, I have a lot to say, but you guys can like go off.
It's a lot. Like we could go on about this for hours and hours, but then you really it just comes down to the fact that multi-million-dollar companies have insurance on their inventory. Shelves can be replaced. Lives cannot be replaced. The freaking CEO of Target like made a statement about like just saying like it's not that serious. Basically, like these things can be replaced, but these are real people
but
we're
a
talking
child
about.
won't ever get her father back.
Exact. Oh my God.
That
It's
brother,
like,
sister won't get their sibling. That mom,
yes,
dad won't get their
yes,
child back. You won't get your parent
yes,
back. And people
yes.
just are so brainwashed and so angry for the wrong reasons because they're being fed by the wrong hand that.
So America is the biggest looter ever. Like they looted the entire continent of Africa. They have looted the Middle East. Like
They
Western
looted
powers
America
are
before it was America.
like this whole country is just stolen land, and I think that the hypocrisy in that is just ridiculous.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, Shama, but see, this is the reason why when many times when people see me or they start meeting me, they always ask me, "What are you?" And it's funny because I always say I'm Dominican, Puerto Rican. I never say I'm American, even though I'm a U.S. citizen. I have my own family members telling me, "No, you're American because you were born here." I was like, "Yeah, I know, but I don't feel like I'm an American because I'm not gonna call myself an American. Because why would I call myself an American of a racist country that's attacking my own people and that doesn't accept my own people?" But yet again, you guys love the culture that we bring. You guys love the hairstyles that we bring. You guys love the food that we bring. You guys love the language that we bring.
Everything but
you want to
you.
criticize it. Everything just because of the color of my
No, everyone
I
wants
want to add this too.
until it's
To
time
my
to be black.
I want to add this too. To my people, there's many. Now, I'm not only saying that whites are not educated on that either. I want to see my own people are not educated on who they are too. Because there's many Dominicans that say I'm not black, and they always criticize the person that's darker than them. In case they know, our ancestors, we're mixed with everything. We're mixed with Native Americans, indigenous people. We're mixed with African. We're a whole mixture because we were colonized. To my people, to Spaniards, to basically Caribbean people, we are black as well. Because if you came out light-skinned, best believe your grandfather didn't come out light-skinned. Your grandfather may be darker than me. So it's like, that's the other shit, sorry, excuse my language. That's the other thing that I want to portray and I want to talk about. Because that's the thing
Anti-blackness.
Also
Yo,
that.
this is our next point.
It's feeding them power to the people that are continuing, like, are keeping this racism alive. Because I always said it, like I always tell, there's some people that are white passing, and I always tell them, hey, I'm not gonna tell you how to live, but don't treat me in a different way, or don't look at me like if I'm this, like if I discuss you or anything. But then yet, when you want to be Latino, you get to choose to be Latino. No, you don't choose. That's what you are. It runs through your veins. Be who you are. Yeah, you can be white passing, but don't forget where your parents come from. Don't forget where your whole family comes from. Don't you ever forget it. Because by the end of the day, like, yeah, they can separate us, but by the end of the day, they will never treat you equally. They will never treat you equally. Why? Because there's always something different about you. There's always something different about you.
I agree. There's definitely a lot of like anti-blackness and colorism in all communities, even within the Black community, because of how expansive it is. Kind of in terms of like the colorism and anti-blackness in Asian communities, I personally have said before, I don't necessarily identify with the westernized version of the Asian community, aka what people normally think is like East Asia. I am South Asian myself, so it's a little different history, everything. So in terms of like how prevalent anti-blackness and colorism is within the Asian community is primarily the model minority myth. We all know about it. Asians are seen as like the model minorities, and it just insinuates tension and it divides, especially a lot of conflict with the Black community. And a lot of it is perpetuated by white supremacy in order to promote like racist agenda and maintain that power over minority groups, even though we aren't necessarily minority by size, just more by how we've been treated systematically. Within the Nepali community specifically, at least within my own family, we try very hard to unlearn all the things and the ideologies that don't serve humanistic views that have been passed down. A lot of it is due to this ideology of like, oh my God, like the darker you are, the less attractive you are. And that is anti-Blackness and colorism within the own community. And it's just been like this for years and decades and like centuries basically. And in order to kind of eradicate those problems and basically not like just put a band-aid over it, we don't want to do that. We want to actually be like, no, we want to go into this and solve it from the root. So what I've been doing, my sister have been doing, some like a lot of people within the Nepali community have been doing are like creating panels to educate, to share information. We did one recently on police brutality that was really great. And we just are doing our best to just have these very difficult conversations. It's very hard to have these conversations with people who grew up just listening to these things. But being able to kind of understand these things and learn every day, for me especially, I just try to always have conversations. And doing this itself is a learning experience, because something that I learned today, I might have not known months ago. So it's just so important to always be very mindful. And also, just to put this in, we'll talk about this later, is never to like be afraid to say, I didn't know this, or thank you for educating me on this, or thank you for letting me know. I think that's so important, more important than the whole cancel culture thing. This is the way that you make change, and this is how you be productive. Well, yeah, it depends,
Carla,
but
I mean, sorry, Ela, I feel like the cancel culture thing, yes, like it's like so for me. Like there's some things that
cancel culture is a bit weird.
You can't, but the girl, like there's things where it's like you can't just like, you know what you're saying. You can't.
No,
like,
I mean that part is like there's certain things that like obviously you are like, you have to be like, hey, this is wrong. But in certain things, cancel culture in the sense that if I say something that I don't know coming from a place where it's like I genuinely didn't know, but you correct me, having that responsibility to be like, okay, I take full accountability and I'm going to change. That is something that needs to be, because you have to be like proactive with your activism and not just be like, okay, I did this. Like really, that has to be. You can't just not be like racist. You have to be anti-racist. And I think that's something that's I'm trying to do within my own family and community.
I can speak on behalf of the, oh, sorry, Carly, go ahead.
Oh, no. Yeah, just like adding on to what Ela said, like I just want to say that it's really good to have people that would educate, but I also want to just point this out there. There's many ignorant people out there, and no matter how much you talk about it, they still won't listen to you.
Sometimes you just have to be like, sometimes you have to really think. You just have to think, like, is this person capable of like mentally capable of having this discussion with me? If not, it's just like, that's you. I'm just going to continue. It's not for you. Like, it's not to educate you. It's to educate me.
Yeah, because I remember I had a professor where I used to go to university, and I remember, I forgot exactly what I said, but she said she disagreed with me because she said that there will be a change somehow in this world where eventually people will listen. And like I told her, like I was like, just to, counter, like just to respond to what you just said, I'm not saying that it's never going to happen. All I'm just saying is we're just in a world that where we have to accept that racism is alive and it will always be alive. Because as long as white supremacy is still living and it's still up and running, there's not going to be any changes. You're still going to run into those ignorant people. And it's like, for me, it's like, I will always talk about it. I will always educate people, and I will keep it moving. Whoever takes it, amen. Whoever does it, amen too. I'm just going to keep it moving, because it's like, I'm not going to waste my time talking to someone, because by the end of the day, I'm going to get worked up. I'm going to get upset. And then that's when, what was it for? Because then I feel like for that ignorant person, I'm just giving them the amusement because they got me upset anyways, you know? So it's just
I think it's just gross when people like don't even feel shame doing this kind of stuff. Like they are
just
openly
so desensitized.
and proudly. No, but but they're like, but then again, it's like this type of behavior is driven by the president's rhetoric. Like, it's encouraged, right? So it's like these people get some type of like, I don't know, like
They
they
get some
just don't
high
feel
off of it
shame.
just
Yes,
because
like
they think
they
that their
don't feel
views,
shame, and
like they think that this
just
is a big
like
community. It's
like
like,
yo, this is
no.
embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. Like it's
What about in your
yeah.
community? What is like for you, like colorism and
Oh
anti-blackness in
yeah,
your community?
I was gonna talk about that. Yeah, I mean, like, colorism is so real in the Middle East. It's the same in I think every group and culture experience. I don't even know why it's such a like dominant thing, but it is. It's real. Um, and I can speak on behalf of the Iranian community just because I am Iranian. My personal experience. Anti-blackness is real, and it's so like shameful for me to admit, but you have to, like, I think admitting it and just being aware of it is this first step, but it really is real. And it's not everybody, of course, but it's definitely real. I don't know why some families shame dating anyone in the Black community as if Afro-Iranians don't exist. Like, I think that is the most ridiculous thing ever. Bandar Abbas is in southern Iran. It's near the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, and they are predominantly Afro-Iranian. Like, we have to keep in mind that Persian is just an ethnic group. Like, Iran itself is a multi-ethnic country. Like, there's people like all over, and so Afro-Iranians make up most of Bandar Abbas. The whole Bandari culture wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for Afro-Iranians, if it wasn't for Black people, period. And so I think that just you have to be honest and address the implicit bias, the internal racism in our own communities. Because if you just ignore it and say, "Oh, it's not my problem," it's not going to fix anything. And like Ela was saying, it's the same thing. Like, we have to unlearn what our parents and our grandparents grew up with. And I think that gives me some type of hope, because I've been seeing a lot of Iranians stand in solidarity with the Black community. There's so many people that I know that have went to protests. They have been very vocal about just petitions and just everything. They've been very vocal on social media. I've talked to them personally, and I love it. I really love to see it. I think the power, there's this quote that I saw, and I love it, because it says, "The power of the people is stronger than the power, no, sorry, is stronger than the people in power."
Mm-hmm.
So if we stand together, I think we can be stronger than more than we even know. And I love it. You guys know that the protests have reached all 50 states. Even in like the most conservative, like southern states, like people are out there because
It's
I
international.
think, yeah, yes,
in like
yes,
Japan,
I forgot.
Korea,
Yes.
Japan, like everywhere. It's like they've actually Black Lives Matters protesters have actually adopted techniques that people in Hong Kong protesters were
Yeah,
using in previous
yes.
protests and current.
And I think
It's amazing, seriously.
it's really just not like Carla was saying earlier, you can't stop now. Like, you have to keep up the momentum. You cannot stop. This isn't just some 1 week trendy thing. Like, this is real.
These are people's lives.
This affects this exactly. Like we make fun of kids that grow up without their moms or dads, but at the same time, it's like we're taking their moms and dads away from them unlawfully, and like it's so sad. Like, these people have children that have to grow up without a parent, and it's just and the thing is like, even after George Floyd, like Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor still has not
There's a
gotten
law
any
for
justice.
her, and there's the people who like caused
The
her to
Amy
go
Cooper
away.
law.
And can we not, let's not forget the beautiful 20-year-old girl that was part of the U.S. Army that was fighting
Yes.
for this country, that she was literally putting her life on the line, and her life just got taken away by one of our own.
In the most cruel way possible.
No justice.
But then yet again, you want us to, yet again, I always think, like, it brings me back to middle school, how I used to always stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. And the words, I just can't say them. Because why would I say something that's not true? Justice for all? What justice? Where's the justice for her? Where's the justice for Breonna Taylor? Where was justice for all those other people that got killed? Where are they? Where's the justice?
The thing is, it literally just goes down to the root of this country and what this country was built off of. It was built on white supremacy to maintain white supremacy. So even if you have individuals that are good-hearted, that are anti-racist, or, you know, don't have implicit bias themselves and are aware of social and cultural norms and situations and whatnot, the system is made in a way to harm the Black community, and even like other like minority communities, because you see police brutality not even just against the Black community, but I mean, the Black community is disproportionately affected, which is why we are fighting for justice. But at the same time, it's like, these people just don't care. If you don't look the way that they want you to look, you're worthless to them. And a lot of the time, and it's really scary to think, like, a lot of this stuff we know about because there's video. So I don't even want to think about how many things
going to that
are not on video.
It's not that racism just started out of nowhere. It's just it's being filmed so much more often.
Right. And the thing with America is that the inequality gap is so absurd, like to the point where, like, people just deny struggle, people deny their own privileges, and they deny things existing because they could never, like, imagine it happening to them. They just never seen it, so it's easy for them to deny it, right? So yeah, like the whole, like, people denying, like, what, like, white privilege, even though there's there's like a bug here, there's like countless and countless and countless encounters where a person of color versus a white person, same offense, same background, different sentences. Like,
it's all about how you go about it too. Like, as someone who is, like, for example, like an ally or like an outsider, what are you going to do about what you're seeing? And this kind of leads on to the whole ideology of productive versus performative. We had like a little thing. Do you want to pull it up, Shabnam?
Oh yeah. Girl, I want to get my screen ready.
Like, there's just always going to be issues going on and, like, everything about what's happening to people, but it's just like, how are we going to respond to it? That's so key.
Guys, can you see this?
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, we got this from Instagram, Waste Free Marie. Thank you. We didn't ask, so that's why we linked it there. But this is just a general outline of, like, productive allyship versus performative. Do you guys want to just kind of go into it?
Yeah.
Like, for example,
we can talk about each point, you know, like,
yeah,
we can talk about,
for example, like, productive allyship versus performative. Like, if you're trying to be productive, it's both public and private actions. Like, for example, I have some family members who don't really post that often, but they will do private conversations and stuff like that. Like, you have celebrities tweeting saying, I might not be as, like, you know, using my online platform, but, you know, I'm doing more things for my own community. So it has to be a balance. That's what productive is, even if you choose to be private, doing something about it. Whereas performative, as we've seen, a lot of celebrities or just people in general, it's very public, Instagrammable. And I actually had an incident today where I shared with my sister and my friends of someone on my social media who had been very much proactive in the sense of posting things about Black Lives Matter, you know, the protest, equality. Yet today she posted something with the N-word, and she was using profanity and saying, oh, these people are the N-word, they're just this. And I immediately knew that no conversation I could have with this person would be reciprocated in a polite manner, so I just removed that person. I didn't want that type of energy. And that just goes to show you there's a huge difference between being an actual ally and just doing it for the trend or to seem cool and whatnot. And that's very key to remember.
And a lot of people just do it to just like help their guilt. Like I feel like a lot
to keep
of
in the
people
loop, to keep
feel
relevant, you know?
guilty. No, but they feel guilty, and it's like, yes, like you're not responsible for what your ancestors did, but you're responsible for what you do and how you treat other people. And so
Especially
I hate
if
that.
you are a person of color and you're doing this,
So
that's
I
just
hate,
if you are a person of color and you are being
like, I
performative,
hate it so much.
you
I
are
hate it.
literally
It's like,
disrespecting yourself, your community, not just, you know, the Black community, but yourself as well. Because you, as a person of color, even if you don't feel things to the extent of what, or not even just the extent in you experience racism in a different way, that's not how the Black community does, you are still a minority and you are still subject
yes,
to white supremacy. So that doesn't make sense to
like
me.
people already expose themselves when they post like that little like black square and then like just stop talking. And I think it's really annoying for us like to be more active when we don't even have the platform that most influencers have. We don't have the power, the money, you know, like they could be doing so much, and so, a lot of them are like not gonna lie about that. A lot of them are, but it's just very disappointing how they really just do it to just not feel guilty and to just like, you know, say, oh yeah, I posted
To stay relevant.
the black square. Yeah, it's just like it's a trend. Like they're literally people are, oh my god, you guys, people are going to these protests and acting like it's like a photo shoot. Like, oh my god, I just
Lots of celebrities.
like I don't even know how you go. Like I went to two protests and it was the most it was just so powerful. And I literally cried like 5 times. Like I was in it, and I think I was there for maybe like 4 hours, like no 3 4 hours, maybe a little bit more. But it was just we marched a lot, and it was just so powerful. Like I'm from Maine, so it's like the second or maybe the second whitest state in the country. You guys would not believe, like, the first people to show up at the protest were white. So like I was pretty early, but everybody there, like just like everyone around me, they were all white. And like, I mean, the majority of the population is white, but it doesn't matter. Like they still showed up and they showed out, and so much solidarity was shown. Like the crowd was just all different types of people, and I was really proud of just the fact that like we are not really a diverse state. And I mean, it is getting better. Like 10 years ago when I was growing up here, it was nowhere near as diverse as it is now. But it was just amazing to see. And like we were watching all over Portland, and so many restaurants and so many stores had like they were showing solidarity with like signs, and like, or their workers, their employees would come out and they would like clap for us or whatever. It was truly amazing. I don't know how you would go to a protest, right, about police brutality, about people being murdered over something like a $20 check, or selling like just like small like inconvenient things like that. I don't know how you could go to those and just take pictures and miss the whole point and the whole purpose of being there. Like it's disgusting to say the least.
I also want to share out, like I saw there was some post on Instagram where people were literally, there literally was a challenge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was sick to my stomach. I was like, how do you think that is funny? I was like, a daughter lost her father, and you think it's funny making it as a challenge.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I just like there's two sides of America. There is one side that was eating outside at the restaurants, and then there was a side literally marching the street over, the whole crowd. You know, it's just
There was
sometimes it's like I don't even.
This is like so random, but like I was on TikTok and somehow I landed on Trump TikTok. And I don't know how. I just ended on Trump TikTok, and these people were just like saying all these racist things, talking about Black Lives Matter. I literally exited the app so quickly, refreshed everything. It is scary. Like it
This
is
is, but girl,
scary.
listen. Like the people that they get their information from, someone like Candace Owens.
Or
So
what's her name? Lori
so it's like,
Loughlin? Is that how you say
I don't even know. And I think if you guys are, if the first person you go to is someone like that, but not a Black scholar, a Black PhD,
someone who's qualified,
that has books, that has like scientific papers, that like y'all, I just, and
it's a lot.
it's really, it's like even my people, it's not even just the Black community that are doing this, even like my own people are just, they're clowns. Like
It just comes down to
we're
like,
not white. Like we don't get treated like, okay, like what, you can be white passing and get that privilege and nobody will ever know. You know, you'll get treated differently. But at the end of the day, it's like you're not white. Like you're a minority just like everybody else. But and although our struggles and what we face, the racism that we face, is still not comparable to what the Black community faces.
it's very different.
Seriously, still we're still not like
regardless, white America doesn't like us minorities. So just like when you're trying to like do things like to kiss ass or trying to be like presentable, remember that they don't like us. They don't like us. So police, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing all this for?
Even the police, like, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw them kneeling and like trying to act for solidarity, I was hopeful. I was like, wow, like these people, like but then yeah, like it is performative. Like the prime example is Buffalo, New York. They literally kneeled with all the protesters one day, and then the next day they pushed that poor man
literally the next day.
His skull was fractured. Yeah, there's just a day difference. So it's just
they didn't care either.
And the thing is, it's like it's not even like the police is the system, right? And it's like no matter who you are as an individual, like they will back each other up like this. So like you could literally like on like there, it's on video. Like you could be on video doing something horrendous, completely like unlawful and unnecessary, but they will somehow back you up. You will still have your job. You know, it's just like it's the whole system that needs to be, you know, like people are like saying how reform isn't even possible because like how can you reform a
something that's broken?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like you were saying earlier, you cannot argue with ignorant people like that just don't want to listen. Like if you like do not want to listen, then you cannot reform that. And so the whole like all lives matter, blue lives matter, it's like it's just another way that they have found to discredit the struggles of the Black community, instead of just listening and understanding how it's not just surface level. It's so deeply ingrained in this country in every single way possible, like in every institution, in every system, anything. Like there's just, and people don't understand that when you talk about systemic racism, you could have good people, you could have no racist person, like individuals, right? But the system is made so that it disadvantages the Black community and people of color.
Yeah. And I just want to go back to the all lives matter. This is the thing that I know many of us have said to a person that thinks like that. If all lives mattered, then we would have never started the Black Lives Matter movement if we were treated equally. Because when it comes to Black Lives Matter, we're not only saying that only Black Lives Matter, we're saying it's because we're not being treated like if our lives matter. We're like being treated like if our lives are worthless. So yeah, that's the reason why this movement happened. So when people come at me and be like, oh, all lives matter, it's like, more better yet, just stay away.
Yeah.
It's like fourth grade level comprehension. Like, it's really not hard to understand that just because people are saying Black Lives Matter, it does not mean it's taking away from your life.
I feel like now they're just using that just to irk and just put an extra stab.
It's hypocritical. Like, if they're like, well, you can't talk about one group's lives mattering. Aren't y'all saying blue lives? Like, isn't that one group? Like, first of all, that's a uniform.
Yeah, get your priorities
right?
straight.
No one is saying
be aligned.
The thing is like no one is saying that cops like deserve to, like, no one is just coming at them like that. If you do something illegal, if you do something wrong, if you are racist, yes, you have to get justice. Like, that's just it, you know? But no one is saying like only Black lives. Like, it's just
this is the thing though with blue lives. The thing is, like, when you're a cop, you can, when you go home, you take that uniform, that badge off. But when you are a person of color, when you are a Black person, you don't get to take your skin off when you go home, or when you want.
I also want to like add this too, because like the other thing too is like, that's what I want to also talk about. Yeah, for blue lives cops, I'm not saying that they're bad, because they're not. They're there to do one thing only, to protect us, to be there for the law. But like the thing is, to me, it's like I feel like they just abuse that power that they have, because it's like, best believe it's like you, because I feel like cops, most cops that did do that to George Floyd, to people like George Floyd, I feel like they felt that power because they have a gun on their side, because they have a stick on their side, because they have the badge that they can just whip out and say, I can do this because I have a badge. And it's like, no. It's like
they know there's no consequences. Like they the chiefs and like the higher ups got them like this. Yeah. And to anybody watching, you do not have to be Black to support the Black Lives Matter movement. If you have Black friends, if you have even if you have Black family members, Black cousins, Black anything, right? This is your fight too. Like I consider some of my friends my sisters, right? And so you don't have to be Blood to be my sister. So like, and I have just.
This is like the analogy.
If you love anybody that is Black, this is your struggle too. This is your fight too.
Just like adding on to that.
Just to elaborate on what Shamma, I'm sorry, just elaborate what Shamma said. I just want to point a key thing. Don't use that, oh, I'm not racist because I have a Black friend. Don't do that.
Oh, no.
That's like the worst thing you can say. That's literally the minute you say I'm not racist, but.
Right.
That's just not it.
Don't.
Yeah.
I was like, because what Shamma said, she said it pretty clearly, but I just want to elaborate. Just don't say, oh, but I have a Black friend, so that means I'm not racist. I have a Black friend, so that means that I'm with, No. If you're supporting, just don't use it as like, oh, I'm supporting them because I have a Black friend, or I have a Black best friend, or I have a Black sister. No, you show it by showing what you're doing. Like, prove it.
You show up.
Show up. Do something. Just don't say it by, oh, I'm not this because I have so-and-so.
One key thing to keep in mind that I always like to say, and this is like, I'm not saying that you need to be American to like respect and understand the Black community, but I'm saying this specifically because we are in America, we are, all Americans, whoever, like if you are in America, you benefit in any way because of America, whether, you are a citizen, a green card holder, or, whatever, or you just are here and you're benefiting in any way. Like, once again, I just want to make it clear that I'm not saying you have to be American to support Black Lives Matter, right? But this is just the specific case I'm using. If in any way, shape, or form you come to the United States, or you are here in the United States and benefiting, trying to get a better life, whatever, this is also specifically for those who immigrate here. This is the price that you have to pay to be here. And the price is that you have to educate yourself on the history of the place that you want to come. Because whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, we are all only able to have these privileges, these benefits, because people, unfortunately, not that they had to or that they needed to, but they suffered for us to be here. And I hate saying this because it's like, you know, I hate to say that, oh, people hurt and like they suffered for us, they died for us, because that wasn't their job. They were put in a position where this is what happened to them, and we are only able to live comfortably, freely, benefit because of that. And this is the price you have to pay to be and to enjoy the American life that you have. So you have to educate, because I've seen so many people who come here, who live here, who are constantly complaining about, like, you know, the Black community, or saying, oh my God, why is it like this? Why are they fighting back? Are you serious? You are only able to enjoy even the smallest of privileges because, unfortunately, this is the history, and that's your job to understand it, to research it, to respect it. Because if you want to be American...
But girl, like, they also deny, like...
That's the thing, though, because
you don't
want
need
to accept
statistics.
it.
Like, you don't even need statistics. Believe actual stories, personal stories. Like, these things aren't made up. And you have to think, like, it's not just a police encounter that I'm like, oh God, oh my gosh, America's racist. Like,
you need to understand.
Racism is literally in everyday life here. Like, structurally, institutionally, systemically. Like, when you talk about healthcare, education, housing, like, poverty is designed in a way, it's a cycle that is designed in a way that keeps you in it.
And who experiences the most levels of poverty, and why? When you look at the reasons why, that's when you start to understand, oh shit, like...
I think you can't be educated and deny.
You shouldn't have the privilege of enjoying the benefits that you do if you don't even want to try to do your research. You know what I mean? Like, at a certain point, you can't be babied, and it's your responsibility to learn and be open-minded, because it just blows my mind when people say, go back to your country, or you don't belong here. How are you going to belong in a place or try to be in a place when you refuse to do the research on the place that you're staying? How you can have that?
Like, I don't know why people think they own this place.
Exactly.
None of us belong here. Who belongs here in America, the United States of America, is indigenous people.
Not even the United States of America. Just whatever America was called before.
I'm waiting for someone to tell me to go back to my country, because I'm like, where you want me to go? You want me to go back to Maine, because I was born here.
People really doing the most, honestly.
It's just, and I'm like, oh, you want me to send me back to?
You got to go back too. We all got to go back. We all got to go back.
Exactly. What am I gonna do? I can't even read Nepali. Like, how am I gonna survive and all that stuff? You know. I think just like going forward, and just like to kind of wrap everything up, it's just like the most important thing, besides like self-education and having the difficult conversations, you know, signing petitions, everything. The most important thing is to keep the momentum going, because like we said before, this is not something new. This isn't like, you know, out of the blue, it just fell out. Now it's just right now we have this momentum going thanks to social media, the internet, footage and everything. And we just have to keep going, because if we stop, it's just going to keep happening. And we're not about it. We're not about it.
To stop. They want to stop because they're scared of us. And it's like, I hate, this is the thing about it being performative, because a lot of states and a lot of like people in power are like making like baby steps to like make some change. And then once like they see us being a little quiet, they like don't go through with it or whatever. Like, we have to keep momentum. We have to push them. We have to keep it going, because if we don't, they're going to fall back. And the thing is that thank goodness that we have social media, because that is the only way that we are able to communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. We are able to spread the news, spread the footage, spread knowledge. Like, I swear, like, the amount of information that I get from Twitter on the daily is more than I've ever learned in a classroom, and more than ever, I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't know
more than you'll learn in your history textbooks.
No, seriously, like, we have to, and the very, very, very least you could do is sign petitions. They literally take 2 seconds
People
to
don't,
sign.
believe it or not, petitions work.
Mm-hmm.
They are the starting step to getting somewhere.
But the most important thing is to vote.
Yep.
If you are 18 and you are not registered, need to become a registered voter. And another thing we didn't talk about, which is a whole different story, is voter suppression, because that is real, that is awful, and that is the reason why the elections aren't fair. But also, like,
like we can only give so much.
The electoral college.
I love that.
Oh,
Spaniard, Spaniard, indigenous, and African.
Yeah,
that's what we have.
Like, honestly, even with us saying all of this, like, there's only so much we can like talk about and do. Like, we can go on and on, but obviously, like, you know, there's only so much we can do. If we've learned anything from us in this video or in our past videos, that's amazing. But there's so many more resources. Like, in the bio, we'll link down all the books, movies, whatever you can like refer to, or just having conversations. Like, you will just, it's so much better. Even if you can't like donate, even if you can't like go out and protest, even if you can't do certain things, just having these conversations with yourself, kind of reevaluating what you want to, what you know and what you think you know, is so key. And like, just keep the momentum going, because like, this is something that is not going to end, obviously, but if there's any way that we can make some sort of change, it happens by being persistent.
And I just want to say that with this movement, like, I saw a lot of tears with little kids crying, like, I'm afraid I'm gonna die because of the color of my skin. Like, little girls saying, like, I'm ugly because of, like, their hair, their skin. I just wanted to say, like, it got to the point where it's crazy, but all this police brutality, all this racism, it just got me to love more. It just got me to love my skin even more. It got me to love it. It got me to, like, literally, I have been just walking out in the streets with my hair all, let's just say, crazy, puffy. I just been showing it out there. I'm just more proud of my people. I'm so proud of my people. I'm happy. So proud that I carry the roots that I carry, and that my skin color is just the way it is. I am so happy, and I'm so proud. I'm proud. I'm so proud. I'm prideful. Like, if you think that you're gonna end up hate myself and hate the color of my skin, because there's even people from my country that bleach their skin. They bleach their skin so they could just be lighter. You will never get that from me. And like I always said, I know. I remember too that Ela, she came calling, and she was crying when this Black Lives Matter like was happening. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm still here. And best believe, anytime I get stopped by a cop, I'll always do what I have to do. I'll always do what they tell me to do. But best believe, if I'm gonna end up getting hurt by a cop or getting killed by a cop, I always said, I'm not going down without a fight. I'm not gonna go down without a fight. I'm gonna always fight back for my life. I will never back down from a fight. If it comes with my life, I won't go down without a fight.
I think there's a lot to learn. Yeah, there's a lot to learn from everything. Like, just, you know, you're hearing from a real person, you know, even if we're behind a screen, you're hearing from real people. You see all these things, you are hearing real stories. So hopefully, like, you know, this makes an impact in any way, and just encourages to keep things going. Like, no matter what, at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, like, our reality is literally this. And in order to make any slight improvements, the first thing that it starts off isn't like anybody else, it's within you and what you can do. And it can be as small as just educating yourself and having conversations, to doing bigger things on larger platforms. And like I said, like, we can continue talking and having these conversations, but there's only so much we can do for our communities and, you know, just in general, but just keep the momentum going.
I think on the ending note, I just want to say, I love all you guys who are viewing us, who support us. I even want to say, I even love the people that hate me. Because all I got to give is love. All I got to give is love. You can hate me all you want because of who I am, the color of my skin, whatever the reason is. I love you. Why? Because, well, for me, I believe
all need some juice.
All I have to give is love. If you don't love me back,
a little bit of that spicy juice, you know.
That's completely fine.
All right, but thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in. You know, please like, subscribe, share. If you don't, you suck. I'm just kidding. But yeah, just, you know, like we said, we linked a bunch of like great books, movies to watch, to self-educate, maybe watch it with somebody like in your family, have whatever you want. And if you ever have any questions for us, you can email us. Our email is in the bio, or you can DM us on Instagram. It's wococlock. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be back next time.